An area of Zobeck where the city's wealth depends on the smooth functioning of the docks, where brawling is frowned upon during work hours, but encouraged in the fighting pits at night.
A fountain where superstitious sailors and their families visit to make an offering to appease the fae of the river so their men are not drowned by a kiss.
A high-end cabaret owned and operated by a bearfolk whose goal is to put a nearby tavern out of business.
A barbershop operated by immaculate blue-haired gnomes who love nothing more than exchanging the latest news and gossip over a hot towel and a straight razor.
Hey Midgardians, I'm Clay.
And I'm Joe.
Welcome to That Midgard Show. This is a podcast where we discuss the Midgard campaign setting published by our friends at koboldpress.
And over the next few episodes, we're going to spend some time in the dock district of Zobeck that is called the Gullet. It's one of the busiest and rowdiest areas in the Free City. The docks along the River Argent are the center of the city's trade, just slightly eclipsing the Great Northern Road. So it's wharfs, alleys, thoroughfares, sea traffic from merchants, bargemen, and stevedores at all hours. So it's a busy, crazy place.
Yeah, it's taverns, gambling dens, and bordellos stand beside warehouses, dry docks, and other industries of the water trade. Brawls are common, and the Watch tends to patrol the area heavily to ensure the smooth continuation of commerce. There is so much to talk about in the dock district. There's just no way we can give it justice in just one episode. In this part of the show, we usually talk about our Midgard adventures, but Joe's been on vacation, so we thought we'd punt on that until the next episode.
Yeah, I had some real life adventures, but nothing for this show. So I say we just dive straight into our Zobeck stuff this week. Before we do that, why don't we give a quick shout out, because koboldpress has a few other things going on right now too, right? We have the Deep Magic 2 Kickstarter, as well as all the new stuff coming out with Project Black Flag. They just did the second playtest packet, and so far pretty happy with what I've seen.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we have some content now to sink our teeth into. We can actually create characters. I didn't expect too much out of playtest 1. The stuff that they provided us, was pretty intriguing, and I'm up for it. I think there's a lot of promise for Project Black Flag, and that's just the working name. They're gonna pick some cool name for their game system. They've said it that pretty much publicly on the Kobold chats. But I'm really excited to start some character creation. And I'm a Foundry user, and they have a playtest version that just goes up to playtest 1. But eventually the Foundry team is going to add content from playtest 2 as well. So really great foundation for that system for Foundry, and I know the folks on the other VTTs are working hard to get that content ready for their VTTs. So more to come.
Yeah, no, I was looking because Foundry did their little thing on it. Like they did a whole show off of what they have so far. It looks nice. I like the style they're going for there, so I'm excited to play with it more in there. I did a big deep dive this week on my YouTube too about playtest packet 2, just kind of going through everything. And I like what I see. I'm actually they did this new luck feature to kind of replace inspiration. And I was a little iffy on it at first, but now I'm kind of anxious to see what it looks like at the table. So I would definitely, if you guys haven't yet, download the playtest packet, dive into it a little bit, make sure you give them feedback, because they're very responsive to feedback at koboldpress. So
and the more constructive, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the Deep Magic 2 side, right? They recently released the names of all the people who got their spells picked to go into Deep Magic 2, including yours truly's. So excited about that, and. Yay! My first published item.
Yeah.
So super cool there, right? And I'm excited to see when we're gonna get some more stuff. I'm hoping they're gonna do some more blog posts about it. They did a blog post about some of their favorite user spells and things like that. So hopefully they're gonna keep on giving us more information on Deep Magic 2, because that is a massive book on its own, plus all the updates to Deep Magic 1. It's so much content that we're going to see with that. And that's both 5e and Project Black Flag compatible, like forward compatible. So that should be really cool to see.
Yeah. I have some spells teed up and creatures, but during open submission, I was always just like swamped with work and real life and had no time to do that. So, I'll save them for future publications.
Yeah, I missed out on the Tome of Beast ones, like the last Creature Codex, Tome of Beast 2, Tome of Beast 3. I always was like, I'm going to submit a monster, and I never did. So I was like, all right, I'm doing the spell, and I did it, and hey, it made the cut. Part of it, I think, was that I did a lay magic spell. I wanted to lean into the koboldpress, lay magic stuff because I have a geomancer wizard in my game. So I think that was kind of maybe part of the reason that made it. Maybe mine was the only lay magic spell submitted. I don't know. But I love lay magic. I think it's super, super cool. I love the way they do that. I'm looking forward to us kind of getting maybe an episode on, more detail on that and on this show in the future.
Yeah, we'll probably wait until the playtest is more fleshed out and heading towards the Kickstarter, which I think is sometime next quarter. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah,
but I'm really excited about it. I guess I'm kind of being cranky with Wizards still, and I could care less about 1D&D right now. I'm just really jonesing for the Black Flag and see what comes out of that.
Absolutely, yeah, me too.
Yeah. Joe, why don't you kick us off? Dock District, awesome place to adventure.
Yeah, it's just a cool place because it's that almost stereotypical D&D dock district you get in the city. Just kind of that rough area with the warehouses and the sailors and all that. But it's a river, not a port city. So it's a little different. It's more like barges and stuff like that as opposed to big ships. So it definitely has its own flavor. And part of that is the different unique locations that we have in Zobeck's dock district. There's a lot of taverns and things like that. And, the first one I kind of wanted to dive into was a favorite of mine called the Dancing Bear. And it is a location that I am really looking forward to my players going to because it's just got some cool flavor, right? They don't give us a ton of information on this in the Zobeck book, but it is this tavern that is definitely where like the sailors hang out. There are occasional brawls. There is gambling. There's, all that kind of stuff you would kind of expect in a place like this. But it has this unique thing of there's actually a dancing bear. There is Masha, the dancing bear, and she comes out and performs and does all her little tricks. This is not a player, bear folk. This is an actual bear, like a trained bear. And she also kind of doubles as the place's bouncer. So when fights do break out, if they start to get a little rough, generally the regulars will kind of break it up. They don't want the place getting too smashed up, but Masha will come along and growl at them and either get them to stop or at least shuffle them outside. And one of the things they actually note about this place is that for this rough, seedy tavern, they do not really go through too much broken furniture because they keep the fighting, either outside or to organized brawls. They do organized brawls, but just those random fights, someone breaks a chair, the bear's coming out and getting mad. So it is a neat place, and it is definitely one of those ones where maybe you're going to meet your contact for, a job at one of the warehouses, or, maybe you're going to meet, a captain of a ship that's going to take you upriver. This place kind of is almost like the Mos Eisley Cantina of Zobeck, in my opinion. It's scum and villainy kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
heart of the dock district. Like Joe said, not a lot was written about it. It's really a great place for you to kind of expand upon it. Maybe the bear is actually a bear folk and just pretends to be a bear. So a lot of opportunities for GMs.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Make her a bear folk that's pretending not to be one. That'd be a little weird, but it could be an interesting twist. So yeah, I like it though. It's like I said, it's one of those places where I feel like it's a great place to pick up a job or have like something going on mid adventure where you need to meet a contact, or you might find pick up a rogue to hire or something like that. Like there's a lot of stuff that can happen there. So It's a cool little location. So that's the Dancing Bear. What else do we have on the list for the Dock District? What's one of your favorite spots?
Well, there's Bengta's Radiance, and there's a connection between this establishment and the Dancing Bear. The owner is hell-bent on putting the Dancing Bear out of business. Why? We don't know. But it's owned and operated by a real bearfolk. She's a bard, and she's known as Madame Petra. She opened up the place, right smack dab in the middle of the district in a prominent location. And it's a great place for, people to do business there, enjoy a cabaret style show. If you have a bard in your group, you can have them try out for the show. And, the cool part is that, they have all kinds of bard types up on stage, poets, musicians, some clowns, comedians, thespians, dancers. So, a lot of opportunity for, the professional or the amateur talent show to hop on the stage and roll those performance dice. And you better roll good, because the crowd will loudly announce their pleasure or displeasure with the current act, with coins, jeers, or even a rotten tomato or two. In fact, many of the local produce vendors find it worth their effort to take their cart over to the cabaret and sell off their cast-offs for the day, or some rotten fruits and vegetables to those attending the cabaret at a discount. To earn a spot on stage, you simply need to impress Madame Petra. How you audition or what kind of acts she books in her establishment, it's up to debate in the artistic circles of Zobeck. There's a lot of jealousy in that area. But the cool part of that establishment is her suite of rooms that are upstairs. And if you have the luck or even the privilege to be invited there, you'll find a richly appointed set of rooms, plush rugs, thick cushioned chairs, a 4-poster bed with heavy curtains. Madame Petra's chambers are rather more suited to kind of intimate gatherings, small groups, where she entertains private guests far past sunrise. Sometimes she locks the door. The staff kind of puts their ear up against the door. You'll hear through the door several conversations happening between Madame Petra and somebody else. Who exactly comes and goes without being seen? Only person that can answer that is Madame Petra, but I have a theory. I think she has a portal in there to the Feywild. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, that's my theory too, because this place, they say, is like a Fey haunt. If you're looking to start interacting with Fey or seed your story with creatures from the Fey, this is the place to do it. So I think that makes a lot of sense that it's a portal to the Feywild. It could be a great way to seed into some of those adventures. The other possibility, and I think you and I had talked about this, was that maybe it has something more to do with the Darakul and the Ghoul Emporium and stuff like that. Maybe she's got something going on with them as well, and that could be a whole thing. We had talked about how what's his name, Greymarth might have something going on with them. So maybe he's using this place as a point to contact them and visit them and things like that. So two distinct possibilities there, but I tend to lean more into the connection to the Fey realm.
So yeah, Joe, I agree. I think it definitely is. There's a portal to the Shadow Realm. Any enterprising PC, if you're playing Courts of the Shadow Fae, Empire of the Ghouls, have you, can maybe use that connection with Madame Petra to get into the Feywild and head to the Court of the Shadow Fae. But it's also
maybe
an
you have to
opportunity.
impress her first.
Oh, for sure.
Get in there, make an audition, impress her, and then you slide and be like, hey, by the way.
Yeah. Also think of it as a hook into any adventure from Tales from the Shadows, which is the companion book to Book of Ebb and Tide. So a lot of opportunities
Absolutely.
for GMs, a lot of opportunities for players. Joe, where do we go next?
So, we're on a tavern kick here. So why don't we talk about another tavern where maybe your players might be most likely to end up, which is the Blackened Tavern. And the reason I say they're very likely here is because this is not just a tavern, but it is also an inn. They do have an upstairs with a bunch of rooms and stuff like that. So if your players are looking for inexpensive accommodations for the evening, this could be a good place to send them. It's a nice, unique place. It is got okay food, but not great food. But the food, they say, is, it's cheap, it's hot, and it's filling. And it goes great with ale. So, again, if your players, especially if they don't have a lot of money, if it's early on in your campaign, this could be a prime spot to send them for the evening. But it does have some unique characters. This place is run by 3 dwarven cousins named Drumdor, Belcorn, and Romir. And they kind of bicker amongst each other. They're always kind of arguing and fighting. And then the 4th person who kind of runs this place with them is an actual gear forge named Bull, who's this calm, reserved guy. So very interesting. You got these 3 dwarves and this gear forge. And, they have, they actually have like this root cellar down in there that they keep, salted fish and food stuff and things like that. And they actually have some magic that kind of protects that cellar so the water from the river doesn't seep in. But there's also a secret door down there that goes to the cartways, and they don't talk about it. They keep it on the down low, but they are they'll host this smugglers market known as Morana's Smugglers Market. So they'll have some stuff going on sometimes in the cellar with the smuggler market, and then the owner of the place is actually the dwarves' aunt named Brunhilde. And she kind of owns it, and she's this old, doddering, dwarven woman. And you would think that she just isn't quite all there. She doesn't really know what's going on. But every now and then, you'll kind of give her a look, and you can just catch this glint in her eye that she knows what's up. She's a lot sharper than she lets on, and maybe the whole doddering old woman is really just a deception, so people underestimate her. Because, in my opinion, she's a lot smarter than she lets on. And if I put her in the game, it's going to be one of those things where I'm really going to build that doddering old woman up and get my players to underestimate her, and then kind of flip that switch at some point. And she's going to just suddenly just look at him and give him a piece of her mind, or just let them know that she knows what's up and she's not to be trifled with. So I like this place because, like I said, it's a great place to send a young party, a new party, but there's definitely some unique characters there. And, again, we're talking the docks, so you're going to find card games, you're going to find bar brawls, you're going to find, singing and, things like that, and maybe some patrons of ill repute kind of hanging out there. So, but that's kind of a theme of, I think, all the taverns in the dock districts is that they have that kind of thing going on. So another cool place for your players to visit. Have you used it at all in your game?
Yeah. Courts of the Shadowfey, the players needed a place to stay, and that's where they stayed. I agree with you, Brunhilde. She's totally faking the senile old granny trope. To me, she's Yoda. She'll whip out a sword and do some amazing stuff with it. That's at least, how I play Brunhilde.
Yeah.
Again.
But Empire Strikes Back Yoda.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. And, my players never got to see her fight. I was waiting for a fight to break out and her to kind of do some hero landings, right on a table with a sword, out to the side, and her taking on some customer who's twice her size. But, dwarves live a long time. I don't think there's such a thing as a doddering old dwarf. Her hair may be gray, but the mind is still sharp as a tack.
Yeah, I want to see her just like pick up a chair and just hit somebody with it out of nowhere.
Oh,
Just grab a chair, and just slams on her. Like, I picture her with like a cane and she just suddenly turns that thing around and it's like suddenly it's just shillelagh, like it's a weapon. So I could just see her being a fun character to play with. So what else do we got? What's next on our tour of the Docks District? Well,
I've got a great location for you. Now,
right.
You've heard Joe and me talk about how gnomes don't exist in Zobeck. We kind of fibbed a little bit because we wanted to save this establishment as a surprise. Right in the heart of the Dock District on Wharf Street, there is this barbershop called the Blue Barbers of Wharf Street. It's a tiny but immaculate storefront. It's posed on the south side of Wharf Street, and it is here inside a mirror-lined establishment that the Blue Barbers of Wharf Street ply their trade. And when you walk in, you'll be shocked. You'll see a dozen blue-haired gnomes wearing elaborate hairstyles. They're all carefully coiffed, beards and mustaches. Each one is distinct from the other. But there they provide you a trim, a cut, shaves, as well as any restorative hair tonics, if you're going bald. There's salves, shampoos, pomades, and oils. And they love nothing more than exchanging the latest news and gossip over a hot towel and a straight razor. It's great place to send your PCs if they need to gather some information, because for the right amount or the right exchange of information, the barbers may have some information for you. To my knowledge, the 12 gnomes there are it as far as gnomes in Zobeck. And again, there is a thing about gnomes in Midgard that we'll get into in future episodes. These barbers claim that they hail from the Shadow Realm, called a place called the Court of Midnight Teeth. And of course, there's rumors abound across Zobeck on what these guys are all about. You can also play them up where they're on the run from Baba Yaga. Whatever works in your campaign. But the truth is somewhere between whether they're spies or exiles from the court of Countess Philomera. They have, in fact, angered the Countess, but instead of imprisoning or executing them, she ordered them sent to Zobeck with 6 of her enchanted mirrors. And these mirrors now hang on the wall of the shop, each with a barber chair set before it. So the Countess may eavesdrop on their conversations at their leisure, or even pass through the glass and arrive in Zobeck at a moment's notice if it suits her. So the Blue Barbers, in addition to providing barber services, they're really there to protect the mirror and maintain the wards over them. So the Blue Barbers is another great entry point into the Book of Ebb and Tides, which has a lot of information about Court of the Midnight Teeth.
And not for nothing, but I've been playing D&D for a long time. Over 20 years. I don't know. And I don't think I've ever sent my players to get a haircut. So I am so looking forward to using this place because, all right, have you ever seen Coming to America with Eddie Murphy?
Yeah.
So there's the barbershop there, and to me, that is this place, and those are the gnomes. Like, I am playing this up so much because I just I get this vibe of a little bit of that, and then a little bit of they remind me of just the description of them with the blue hair and the crazy mustaches. They kind of give me a little bit of the vibe of the World of Warcraft gnomes, and I'm pretty sure the gnomes are the ones who give you the haircuts that have the barbershop in World of Warcraft. So I kind of get a little bit of that vibe as well. But I really want to build out each of these gnomes' personalities in detail, because there is no funnier scene in any movie ever than the barbershop scene. There was recently the movie Soul, and there's so many good movies where the barbershop scene is just always hilarious. And I feel like it will be such a great role play experience just for them to go in there. If you do nothing else with it, if you don't do the Shadow Realm, if you don't do anything else with it other than they're there's a place to get a haircut, I'm going to go. You can have so much fun in that place. So use it, build it up, give these guys some personality. I have a feeling they will become just absolutely beloved NPCs if you do it right. And you can have so much fun with it. But, Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. Like you're sitting there getting like a shave or getting a haircut, and then you just see this little glimmer of something in the mirror, and you do a double take and it's gone. But you can just kind of seed into those things with that, you know.
Yeah,
So
like this
a lot of potential. Face. There. So much potential. Yeah, yeah. Or like you're looking at your face, but then your reflection acts out of its own accord for a moment, and you're like, "What the heck?" You know, something crazy like that. You know, do a total through the looking glass kind of thing with it. I mean, so much potential, so much potential in a barbershop in a fantasy city like Zobeck. I mean, awesome, just so great.
Just imagine a big burly barbarian sits down in the chair. They may go on the back and get a bigger chair to put in front of the mirror that has stairs and a walkway around the barbarian so the gnome can really primp them up. And it's also something that you could play with too, where the mirror doesn't actually reflect the actual reflection of the person sitting in the chair. So you got a long hair barbarian. He may see that his hair is still long and just trimmed up a little bit. But when he walks outside, you know, his hair has this big updo and, you know, really the nature of what this character is, you know. So, or this Ponzi French, you know, Louis the 14th court wig, you know, that's all over the place, you know, with a nice big black spot on his face or something like that. So,
or like, how funny would it be if you walk in and there's Madame Petra, right? The bear folk from Bengta's Radiance, sitting in the chair, getting her hair done. She's got like a bow in her hair. Or even the dancing bear herself, Marcia the dancing bear, you know, sitting there getting made up for the evening. Like, it'd be so funny. And you players would be like, what is going on? And I mean, that could seed you into these other locations to go do those things. But I kind of actually, now that I think about it, the mirror connection to the Shadow Realm and then Madame Petra's whole thing, you know, I could see them having some kind of connection, you know, working together or having something going on. So there's a lot of potential there
definitely.
Too. So great location. Probably one of my favorites in all of the Dock District. So then there's one other location that we haven't talked about yet, but I kind of want to kick this one to you because it ties into your monster that you covered in our last episode.
Yeah, the Altar of the Lorelei. So last episode, that was my featured creature, the Fey ladies called Lorelei. And sailors have always been a superstitious lot. And for those that work on the River Argent, they're no different than any sea sailor. So for many locals, the Lorelei are the river's handmaidens who will kill men just for the sport of it. The Altar of Lorelei is kind of in an alley somewhere in Zobeck. It's actually in a specific place, and we'll show where it is on the map. But it's a small wall fountain tucked in a quiet alleyway, featuring a carving of a woman reclining on a rock and beckoning to passerbys. The water is pouring like a river around her into the shell-shaped bowl beneath. Some say the Lorelei is the mask of the goddess Yarilla, that is the priestess of the green gods that tend the shrine. And if you remember my character Eggy, his deity are the green gods, but instead of Yarilla, he calls them Mary Jane. Sailors, travelers, and their loved ones often toss coins or other small trinkets into the water as an offering to the Fae before a journey. So it's like, I'd like to live, Lorelei Fae. Here's some money. Here's my contribution to you. Let me make it to my destination, please. And, sometimes it's the wives or the kids as well. And while most of the offerings are given to ensure a safe voyage, not all visitors to the fountain have such benevolent intentions. It's also a place where women who have been wronged can make an offering to the Lorelei to actually take out a specific person. They have to create what's called a poppet. The analog I can go with is kind of like a voodoo doll. And they'll create a depiction of the person they want the Lorelei Fae to visit, but it has to have pieces of the target, hair or teeth. And if the Fae find that the woman's anger is pure enough, that her desire for vengeance is strong enough, the man will meet a dark fate at the hands of the Lorelei the next time he travels within an earshot of the river. Yeah. So, yeah, just imagine, Lorelei just reaching up, just dragging this person underwater. It could be kind of a frightening encounter for your players as well.
Yeah. And I had a thought after our last episode when you talked about them and knowing about this location here too. How cool would it be if there was some kind of Lorelei queen, like a more powerful, some kind of queen of the Lorelei that you could use as a warlock patron for one of your female players, like a female warlock player with a Lorelei patron that wants her to like deliver evil men to her.
Yeah.
Like that's her whole thing. I feel like it could be a cool warlock patron of some sort. I don't know which patron you would use, which subclass, but I feel like it could be something cool.
Play it like the mythology is. These are the sirens of the river, are there to do something naughty. not so much naughty. That's poor choice of words, but do something untoward a member of your barge crew. And again, The Lorelei don't have to be limited to the female gender. They can be any gender that you wish. And a husband can come and offer a poppet to the fountain if they been wronged by a lady in their life or what have you.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, interesting location, something you can play with. At the very least, it's something to note in passing that, like, when they're walking through the Doctor Street, they might see this thing. They might be curious about it. It's got some lore there. And that's kind of the cool part about Zobeck is that it's built out like that, where we have some information on these locations. Your players may pass them, may see them. They may grab that seed or they may just keep walking. But at least you've got a little bit of information, something you can build on. And, hopefully some of these locations we kind of talked about today give you some ideas, spawn some ideas for adventures or ways you might use these locations as either seeds into adventures or prime locations for your adventures. There's a lot to be had with these, places. We mostly just talked about taverns for the most part today, but taverns are kind of the heart of D&D cities, right? That's where we always think about, going. Like that's the first place your party generally goes when they walk into a city is let's go find an inn or a tavern. So hopefully you've gotten some cool ideas. And these locations are more than just a place to grab a bed and some food, but a place that you can actually seed into some of your adventures.
Yeah, and that location is also a great opportunity for role-playing. There is a priestess named Philora Ryson. She's from the Temple of the Ocean Moon in Kame. And she arrived to Zobeck months ago, and she hangs out at the fountain preaching, calling out to the sailors and dockhands to proselytize, to try to attract them to her faith. The sea god has never had any real footing in Zobeck, so her entreaties to potential converts have swayed few. Again, this could be another location for portal. It could be a place for a vision where, you're about to head onto the docks and you kind of peer, into the waters of the fountain and you get a vision of what's to come, or a lie, to kind of set them off in the wrong direction. You can use Philora as a way to reinforce the lie or try to convince the PCs it's a lie. So like Joe said, all adventures start at a tavern, but this is another location where, like, the captain of the bard says, you must visit the altar of Lorelei before you can ride on my ship, and then take it from there. Just a lot of opportunities to add some storytelling and some role playing to your sessions.
Yep. And, see episode 6, see Clayton's a bit about the actual Lorelei themselves in our previous episode, and combine these two because it could definitely lead to some fun stuff on the river. But speaking of creatures, we have a creature showcase this week.
Yeah. What do you got, Joe?
But we got a couple of fun things prepared. So I went with one that I particularly enjoyed that I've used in a previous game. So picture this, if you will. You've been exploring the Tome of an ancient pharaoh, and that thus far has kind of proven difficult and nearly deadly for your party. And as you enter the next room, you're on edge and ready for anything, or at least you thought you were. This room you walk in is about 50 feet across, another 70 feet the other way. And pillars are evenly spaced out throughout the room, which is lined with glyphs. Sand covers the floor throughout at a depth of at least a couple of inches, but it's piled higher in other parts. And you cautiously fan out, begin to pass through the room, weapons at the ready, and your eyes are peeled. But then suddenly this wall slams down in front of you, and then another behind you, and then more to the sides, and you're trapped between pillars, and sand begins to fall in this small area that you're in. And you struggle to kind of make your way out and get on top of the sand as you feel like you're going to drown. And then these two blue glowing dots appear in the sand, and then a form begins to take shape. It's got this canine-like face with blue glowing eyes that begin to emerge as the sand itself takes form. And you hear a growl, and a swipe of claws comes at you, and you begin to fight back but then the form shifts again into this whirlwind of sand that engulfs you, and the sand starts tearing at your skin. This all plays out because of a creature called an Anubian. And these are guardians of ancient tombs, and they're basically sand elementals. They're earth elementals, but in this case, we're going to call them sand elementals. And they generally come in groups. They fight well together. They don't have pack tactics per se, but they fight like they do. They have this ability to turn into sand, so they can actually they'll hide in sand. And when they're not in form, you wouldn't know it. They're just a pile of sand on the ground. But when they're like this, they can move 10 feet and then reform without using any movement. They just, it's almost like a misty step, but in sand. And what's cool is they can, when they do this, they can basically move through any space large enough for grains of sand. So in the case of what I described, there'd be maybe some little holes down at the bottom of this wall that a little bit of sand can pour through, so they can get out of that enclosed space and go out and attack other party members that aren't trapped. So that ability in itself makes them, very mobile and dangerous. This whole room I'm actually describing is part of an adventure from koboldpress called Last Gasp, which is a very fun, unique adventure where you're going through a tomb, this ancient tomb, and you're dealing with, having to manage how much air is left in this tomb, this sealed tomb. But this room itself is cool because when you walk in, like I said, it's this rectangle room with these pillars, and there are certain trapped areas. And basically, these Anubians will form, and they will try and herd players into those trapped areas so the walls come down, and it starts to fill with sand, and they drown them. So they'll do that, and what they can, and if they can't do that, what they can do is when they move into their whirlwind form, right? So they actually will transform into this whirlwind of sand, and they'll engulf you. And you are basically restrained, but then they can move you. So that when they can move and bring you with them. So they will drag you right into one of those spots, get you trapped, then use their sand step to move out of that trapped area and go after the next person. And they'll work together and maybe herd players and stuff like that. So if you set up a room well, like this room is, you can really do some damage. I mean, these are only CR2 creatures. They're not very powerful. It's like AC 13. They don't have a ton of hit points. They've got a multi-attack with that are, a couple claw attacks, average damage for a CR2. But they are resistant to non-magical physical attacks. They can't be grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, knocked prone, restrained, or even go unconscious. So This is kind of a do or die fight. You're fighting these things to the death. There's no incapacitating them, really. The one weakness they do have, which is kind of cool, is water. Think about when you're at the beach and you wet the sand and it kind of hardens. You can do that with them. So whenever you hit them with water, they take extra damage. So if you've got even your canteen and you chuck it at them, that could hurt them a lot. So that is their one kind of weakness, is water. But they're a very interesting and a terrifying creature. Here's Last Gasp. I know not everybody's watching us on YouTube, but here's the cover, and you can see this creature here. This is on page 24 of Tome of Beasts as well. But they're scary looking things, man. They're like these very, Norian Nutal themed, or Egyptian kind of themed sand elemental. Very Anubis kind of vibe to them. So definitely, if you're doing that whole Southlands, that northern part of the Southlands, that Nuria Natel area, if you're dealing with Pharaoh's tombs and crypts, this is a great creature to throw in a room, and combine it with traps and use their ability to engulf and move targets into more dangerous areas, whether that's dropping them down a pit or putting them into a trap or whatever the case may be. They are terrifying for a CR2 creature, as most koboldpress creatures tend to be. At those low level koboldpress creatures are absolutely brutal. So this is just one that I greatly enjoy.
I love that adventure. I've played it a few times. I've GM'd it a few times. In fact, it was one of the first koboldpress adventures that I read. And just the mechanic of keeping the players moving forward that they use in this adventure is blew my mind. It was like, these guys are innovative with their gameplay. I'm not going to tell you what that mechanic is. I don't want to do any spoilers, but great choice of adventure, Joe. Glad you got to run it.
Yeah, and if you guys happen to go to Gen Con, at least when I was at Gen Con, and I did stuff with koboldpress at Gen Con, that was one of the adventures that I ran for them. So don't know if they're still going to do it this year, but if you're going to Gen Con, take a look. It might be an adventure you can sign up to play at Gen Con this year.
Yeah, definitely. Great place to do it.
So what do you got for us, Clay?
In the theme of my Curse of Strahd Midgard campaign, I'm going to set up the encounter there. So you're walking down a very forested road called the Svalich Road that runs between the village of Barovia, Vallaki, and some other cities to the west. And as you pass, something off to the side catches your eye. Something unexpected. You turn and look and you go, is that a building? You see this like small yet well-kept shop, which is the most odd thing that you can imagine coming across when you're out in the middle of nowhere, essentially. And this building is perched atop of a multicolored stone foundation. The exterior of the shop is draped with an array of flickering luminescent mushrooms, bulbs, insects trapped in jars. Over the door, you see this professionally painted sign that directs travelers inside. It reads, Jenny's Coffee Shop and Enchantments. And in smaller letters underneath, you see, customers welcome. Solicitors will be stewed. This is the home and shop of Jenny Greenteeth, that iconic character from the Forgotten Realms. And when you go inside, you see several brass-wheeled carts and shelves that stand against the east and west side of the shop. It's comfortable, it's well lit, it's warm. There are nice smells, coming from the kitchen. But the one thing that you notice, as you're, perusing toward the counter, is there's all kinds of different shaped bottles full of liquid. And it's almost like you're in a wine shop, it's a bunch of strange bottles, glasses, and other items that may be more suited to mixing spirits, tasting wines, liqueurs, what have you. Just inside the door, you step on this beautiful rug. It's thick, it's ornate, and embroidered on it is the words, "Thieves will be eaten." And you see it both coming in, and when you walk in and turn around and look at it again, the letters magically change direction. So, you see it again. Thieves will be eaten. While you're walking along the shelves, you can't help yourself with picking up a particular clear glass bottle with purple liquid inside. Tied around the neck of the bottle is a label called Nerb's Hand Granat. And then in small letters below that, you see caution. This one will grab you. When you unstopper the flask to take a whiff, the liquid starts to froth and bubble and spin around. And then this hand shoots out from the flask and grabs you hard around the throat with the rest of its body kind of curling around your neck. This is what's called a Doppelixer. It is one of my favorite creatures. I love oozes. And the great thing about the koboldpress bestiaries is they are full of ooze. So the lore for this creature is super cool. It was developed by an alchemist named Nerb, who sought to produce a universal potion which allowed the imbiber to choose the potion's effect. So kind of like a Swiss Army knife of potions. While crafting it, part of his recipe was feeding the blood from a mimic mixed in with a bunch of magical liquids. That was fed into a blood ooze, and some bad things happened. The creature, it turned on him and escaped into the sewers adjacent to the alchemist's laboratory, and eventually it started to divide and duplicate like, Star Trek tribbles. And they just kind of infested the sewer. But in the encounter that I used to set up this creature, Jenny Greenteeth, she is a resourceful lady. She knows how to craft Doppelixers, and she creates them to sell to anyone with the right amount of gold in their pocket as traps or as a thrown weapon. Doppelixers can't become just any magical fluid, but their creation allows them to mimic a simple chemical formulas. So, in your adventures, it doesn't have to be purple. It could be red. It could be green. It could be clear, but the whole point of this creature is it sits in kind of a liquid state, hiding to lure prey. If a curious creature moves nearby but doesn't interact with the ooze's container, the Doppelixer changes its composition to imitate another liquid to encourage investigation. One of its actions is really cool. It emits this low-level telepathic urge as an action to coax the creature into drinking it. There's a DC save for it. But, that's kind of how you can use it to get your players to unstopper it and release this creature. One thing it doesn't like, it will not attach to any undead or constructs, but it just ignores that those creatures probably hop on the shoulder and jump onto somebody else more to its liking. It's kind of the ooze version of a leech. It feeds on blood, and it is fun to play. It's a CR1 creature. It does a lot of damage, 2d6 plus 3 of damage. It has, just a single slam action. But I play it differently. I play it like a face hugger from Alien. This thing jumps out of the bottle, just clamps onto the face. The rest of the body of the ooze kind of wraps around the neck. And, not only is it sucking blood, causing hit point damage. But, I add a little twist to it to where, you can add suffocation rules to it as well. Now, the target can use its action to try to remove it. And the stock action is DC 13 strength to see if they can remove it, else it stays attached. So, like I said, I play it differently. I play it like a face hugger from Alien. But I also kind of boost up the strength stats a little bit. I moved the strength up to 18. That bumps up the DC to remove it to 17, making it harder to remove. And it's kind of a fun creature to play because you can attack it. You can try to remove it, but your companions, if they attack it, there's a good chance that they'll hit you as well. So your fellow PCs are going to have to come up with some creative solutions to remove this creature from you before you are drained of your blood or you suffocate. And, of course, 5e characters, they can hold their breath longer than any SEAL from the Navy. And so the suffocation probably won't come into play. The the target could die of bloodlust before they would suffocate. So a Doppelixer can present your PCs a challenge without having to resort to combat immediately. This creature is featured in an adventure called The Pavilion of Whispers and Wonderment, and you can find that in Tome of Beast 3 layers. It's a really cool adventure. This creature exists in only one room of the complex that your PCs will explore, but I love to drop oozes in any chance I get. This one you can play anywhere. And it's small and it's tiny. It sits in the bottle. And I also like the trope of kind of using it as a hand grenade, where you kind of chuck it at an enemy and the bottle breaks and then the thing leaps out and just attaches to the face of the other person.
I love that.
So you can have a lot of fun with that.
You know the big takeaway from this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Project Black Flag needs to fix the suffocation rules, because you're right. It's ridiculous how long a player can hold their breath in 5e. So if you're listening, koboldpress, we'll look for that in playtest packet number 3.
Please.
Please fix that. Like, just all you gotta do is like take the existing rule and say times 0.5 or divide it by 2 or whatever.
Right.
Like, seriously. But that's great. I love the idea of a creature that's a hand grenade. Like, you just chuck it at something.
Right. Right.
That would be a cool thing too if you could like actually like create them as an alchemist. Like, that would be kind of neat if there was like a way you could learn how to create your own as an alchemist, like a high level alchemist. That'd be neat.
Well, the recipe is in the stat block. It could be fun. I have a player in Southland's campaign that is a poisoner, so he has that ability to craft poisons. So I let him do that and use them as part of augmenting his weapons. So yeah, this just could be another thing that one of your PCs has the talent to do in their downtime.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome. They may get attacked by it, so that could be some fun role playing.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's a great creature, man. I love it. I want to use it now. I just love the idea of making it into a grenade. Like, I'm sold. Where do I sign up for this?
Right on. Hey, that's our show. I hope you had some fun with us. Joe, how do folks reach you?
Well, as always, you can find me at GM Toolbox on YouTube and on TikTok, and on Facebook and on Instagram, because I'm on all the socials these days. But you can also find me on Twitter at GM_Toolbox, a little different there. And of course, you can find me on the Midgard Adventures Discord at GM Toolbox as well. So come see us, and if you have any questions, let me know. How about you, Clay?
Yeah, everyone, you can reach me on the Midgard Adventures Discord server and Twitter. I'm at Clayton Thompson, Thompson without a P. And the Midgard Discord server really is the best place to reach me. This server is a lot of fun. It is a great community of koboldpress Midgard fans. And I encourage you to check it out. It's a fan-based cooperative group. We're affiliated with koboldpress. We work with them. But the server is just full of Midgard lore, shared tips and tricks. It's a great place to answer questions. And we do offer organized play games, both online and IRL games in certain locations around the country. Midgard Adventures is open to everyone, particularly those new to Midgard and role-playing games in general. So for this show, for our podcast, we have a dedicated channel for That Midgard Show where you can post a comment and talk about the content of the show. Definitely leave some comments in the comment area below. We do answer them from time to time. And when we gather enough of them, we're going to read the comments, during a segment of our future podcast, to where we will answer questions or comment on somebody who's played a Doppelixer in a different way or something like that. The Mead Hall of Midgard is kind of the place where everybody gather and talks about just about anything. An invitation to the Discord server is available below. So check us out, and check out That Midgard Show on Twitter. It's at That Midgard Show. We're going to start utilizing that social media platform a little bit more for promoting our show, promoting the Joe Show, promoting the Midgard Adventures server in general.
So, guys, if you like our show, please click on the like button and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. If you're listening to us on one of the major podcast platforms, make sure you subscribe there and leave us a comment or a 5-star review if the case allows. And even better, just spread the word about That Midgard Show. We've been so happy with the feedback we've gotten. We know a lot of you are enjoying the show. We really, really appreciate it. If there's anything we can do to make it better, just please let us know and we'll do our best. So that's it for today, guys. And remember, as Wolfgang Barr says,
strip it for parts and make it your own. Thank you for joining us. Take care, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you, everybody.